and a warm welcome to each one of you. The McKinsey Global Institute estimates that the world will need to spend 57 trillion on infrastructure by 2030 to keep up with global GDP growth. Closer home, the union budget for fiscal 21 focused upon enhancing spending on infrastructure to boost economic growth in India. In fact, just last weekend, Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced an investment of 110 lakh crore on building modern infrastructure in this country. These are massive incentives for players in the construction sector in India to identify solutions to improve productivity and project delivery through new technology and improved practices. The construction industry has been relatively slow to transform its ecosystem into a digitized one. However, over a period of time, it has realized the need to ride the digital transformation wave and usher innovation. Autodesk IDC's latest research report, Digital Transformation, the Future of Connected Construction in India, highlights how the construction industry can benefit from digital transformation and how the sector can overcome these bottlenecks. The report also talks about how private companies are spearheading the Bim adoption revolution in India. We shall highlight some interesting insights from this report through the course of this discussion. Our session today will focus on changing the construction space with digitalization. Before we start, let me quickly introduce our panelists for the day. We have with us Sunil MK, Head Architecture, Engineering and Construction at Autodesk; Ramyo De, General Manager, Planning and Design, Terminal 2 at the Bangalore International Airport Limited; and Priya Balijepalli, Sustainability Manager at Autodesk. Welcome to the panel discussion, guys. Thank you for joining.
Hi, Rudra.
Thank you.
So let's get started. My first question is essentially to all our panelists. The Prime Minister made a blockbuster announcement using the Independence Day celebrations as a platform for infrastructure projects. Given the economy needs a major stimulus right now, how well-timed is this announcement? What are your thoughts? Sunil, maybe you could go first about this.
Right. I think it's very timely as we come out of this pandemic and we want to revive the economy. It's the best step that I think that has come by. And also when you started, you said McKinsey report about 57 trillion that will be spent. And in fact, looking at what is going to be spent in India, I think this is great. And I also want to actually just tie in this with the whole idea of making in India, manufacturing in India, where buildings are today more and more manufactured than constructed. 80% of the building that you see today in the modern times, they're actually in a way manufactured, designed and manufactured. Right? So I think this will be a great segue as we also can see some of those ideas or people actually looking at manufacturing also some of the products that will go into the building in India.
Ramya, what are your thoughts on this announcement that the Prime Minister made just this weekend?
Yes, I read about the announcement. From our side, we have been closely watching the infrastructure sector for a long time. And this announcement basically should have come a little bit earlier. But now that it has come, we should take the most out of it and see how we can develop the country's infrastructure in a planned and phased manner.
Right. Ramya, I think you made a very important point here, but better late than never, right? So Priya, your thoughts on this as well, please.
Well, infrastructure continues to be a major propeller for economy, so no doubt about that. But also, it's imperative for us to look into what would be the consequences of this growth, right? I'm not trying to dampen the excitement here, but having said that, I think the COVID situation definitely made us realize the need to relook into how we design, how we construct, and certain changes in our lifestyles as such, right? It clearly indicated the relationship that we have with space, both internal and also community.
So coming back to the Autodesk IDC report, Sunil, The latest IDC, or the Autodesk IDC report rather, points out how the time is ripe for construction companies to take the digital route. Can you share some of the key reasons from this report? Why is now a great time?
Unlike many of other economy, I think ours is a very different economy. We have, in fact, I would say poor infrastructure to start with, right? So it's imperative that, and I always like to connect this with common man in a way that everybody living in this country will have a better life or a predictable life if we have better infrastructure. Just going to work, coming back from work, and just spending quality time with family, that is all related to how infrastructure can help you live a day in full. Having said that, I think our cities have been growing significantly, and I think the need for schools, hospitals, the infrastructure is actually been growing tremendously as well. And I think that's where I always see that there's two ways of actually meeting the demand. Either you can actually add more people to deliver the same work, or you actually adopt technology, and in terms of meeting all these goals. So technology at the center is very important for all the people who are actually going to be working and delivering the projects that's going to come by in next whatever time frame that we are talking about. So as we also look at the report, it also says that 66% of the companies are already thinking about digital transformation as one of the pillars for their change.
So you mentioned something very interesting, the fact that the demand or the need for infrastructure projects, especially large-scale infrastructure, is increasing. It needs to be done faster. Clearly, either you put more people in or you adopt technology to do that. So that brings me to Ramyo. Clearly, airports is the need of the hour. We are seeing a lot of major airport development happening now as well. There's the Navi Mumbai airport that is in the works. There's in Delhi, the Jewar airport has recently been, the project has been awarded. So clearly, this is going to be a major focus area. What is the role of technology for large mass-scale projects such as this? What has been your experience in the Bangalore International Airport?
See, I would start with giving you an example. We are currently living in a time which is basically the worst and the best all together combined. Best in the terms like we have access to technology, we have access to a lot of resources which was not there in the last 200, 300 years. Today, famine and other things are a thing of a past, though they still occur. But with this, why the worst conditions also comes into play is we want things that are detriment to the natural progression methodology. That means we are impacting the environment more and more. And that is basically giving us dividends in either droughts, either spike in temperatures, either global warming. So as an infrastructure project, you have to manage the worst and the best into a manageable position, which we are not doing till today. To give you an example, in airport development, because it's a huge site, as well as other developments that are going around in the country, the primary focus should be not only the development that one is associated with, it should be the surrounding environments, what you are impacting more. So what technology basically is there and people and organizations should use is better visibility through that technology into seeing an overall impact what you are doing towards a building. Just to give you an example, in a layman's term, suppose you are doing a drainage of your huge infrastructure project. You take into account not only your site, what matters, but what is surrounding you, the natural floodplains, because these things are getting overlooked currently, which basically in every rainy season or any flood or flash floods, we see nature giving us back in dividends.
Ramyo, I think the most interesting part of your what you just mentioned is you didn't stress on cost savings too much. You spoke about sustainability instead, which is something I can see that that Priya has been nodding her head very vigorously for the past half a few seconds. I think that really brings me to you, Priya. I mean, it's a natural flow, right? what is the role of emerging technologies in creating sustainable infrastructure? I mean, we speak of floodplains, etc., and flooding as an issue of these things. I mean, airports also have noise pollution, right? That's a major area. I don't know. I mean, can technologies account for that? Can you model for that?
Absolutely. When you look at the kind of a population that the world hosts today, right? We are 7.6 billion, and we're going to be 10 billion very soon, right? And we don't seem to stop at the growth. Hosting this population is not just creating building, but then a whole lot of infrastructure that supports our existence. Airports, mass transit, sewage systems, water systems, and so on. And currently, all these aspects are looked at in isolation, right? They're not looked at as a systematic approach or as a systems approach, right? It needs to be looked at as a holistic approach. Now, when you look at the current way of working, where it's quite siloed, what brings it all together is the technology, right? So when a designer is looking at, he's thinking about maybe designing a green building or a green infrastructure, right? It's aspects such as daylighting and what would be the wall to the glass to the wall ratio and so on, the geometry of the design, everything reflects on what is the energy use of the building, right? So technology enables the designers to more predictive data and insights. So while the designer is looking at, not just thinking about the design of one or two designs of the building, but is looking at the multiple options that he has, right? Based on the energy analysis that the technology can help him. So it enables the designers, architects, and engineers to take a much more informed approach.
That brings me to this important point. I mean, the construction industry faces some unique challenges, right, that have made it a late adopter of digitalization. So what are these roadblocks? I mean, why is construction industry behind a lot of other sectors, and how can they overcome these challenges through digitization? Sunil, if you could talk about.
Yeah, actually, just to add to the what Ramyo said and Priya said, the industry is very fragmented. First of all, so unlike manufacturing industry where you have a lot of people coming together under one umbrella and designing and producing things, in building industry or infrastructure industry, we have different silos working together to deliver one project, and often the same people don't do the second project. There's another project, there's a new set of people. So in a way, the learning is also not taken to the second project, because you have to start all over again in the second project, which is working with completely new set of people, right? And frankly, everybody is just because of this whole fragmented nature. Technology has been something that has been taken a second backseat in a way, right? And now, looking at number of projects that is coming in, some of the research that we have done also says we need to build almost 1,000 buildings a day to actually meet the demand of population growth in the cities. If we are supposed to do that, how are we going to do it if we don't actually adopt technology and be on the same? Everybody who is working together should be on the same page, and that's something that is missing in our industry altogether. And I think also just to say that, okay, you are talking about trillions of dollars to be invested in infrastructure. Now look at, it is evident, everybody knows adopting technology will only bring efficiency, right? So even if you peg that efficiency at about 10% or 15%, when you talk about a $1 trillion investment, you can actually save $150 million, or you can bring that to the table to do something else in a way, So adopting technology will only make even investment to be optimized. And the newer technology gives you data at the center. Right? With this data, you are able to run analytics and understand basically look at how buildings will perform, do predictive analysis, and do a lot more things that actually normally we are not able to do. Right? So it's imperative. I think I see a lot of positive movement. I would say people are looking at technology, but we definitely need that to be speeded up.
Coming back to the report, the Autodesk IDC report also shares insights on how Indian construction companies are prioritizing digitization, right? So according to you, what are these key determining factors and how are they faring at this moment? Sunil?
So I would start with saying that, okay, we are in the early stage, right? I think 66% companies are stage 1 or stage 2, where they have just the thing to look at definitely would be how they actually go about implementing it, right? And the challenges that the report talks about is basically, and what we also see is whether you have a digital roadmap or not. What is that? What is that roadmap like? Do we have people who can implement it? How is the organization doing? What kind of changes that we need to do within the organization in terms of technology that you have? Plus, also we need to look at the people, right? So those are the aspects that I think will play a key role in terms of when and how a company can become fully digital, using digital platform, right? So that's the key. And but having said that, actually, I also looked at I also compared in the document where you see Asia Pacific companies versus Indian companies, and when you look at whole of Asia Pacific, some of the countries like Singapore, if you keep them away, I think we are all on the same kind of path, and we are almost at par, actually. And
Singapore is an outlier in this case?
Should be an outlier, So a lot of even use of robotics in construction is very high there, Yeah, that's an outlier there. But apart from that, I would say the report also talks about having some sort of parity between the countries, like overall region, right? Just not so. Yeah, same kind of levels as well as same kind of challenges that people have. So that's there.
Wonderful. One quick follow-up question to that. Do you think there's a difference between the larger companies and the mid-scale companies? For example, L&T would of course be much faster in this. It's easier for them. And the scale of projects they handle is also much larger. Shapurji, Palonji or L&T. But what about the next sort of group of...
See, it's actually... what I have seen from my experience, in a way, smaller companies definitely adopt faster, right? Bigger machines are difficult to move. Then again, what makes a difference is the how it is being pushed from the top management, right? If that is there, even we see that in L&T, such a massive organization, but digitalization is in the center of the whole thought process. Yeah.
Wonderful. I think this is an interesting point. I mean, it's not necessary that an elephant is heavy to move as long as the mind is in the right place. Right. So Ramyu, that brings me to you with some anecdotes. Tell us some key features of the new terminal construction at the Bangalore International Airport that required you to turn towards automation and technology. How have they helped you? Because the anecdotes are always interesting part.
Yes, coming to the construction of Terminal 2 in Bangalore, we had several unique challenges. One of them being we have what we call as a very short duration. We had 2.5 years to close a project which is almost close to the size of Terminal 3 in New Delhi. So just imagine having that project completed in such a small duration. This was one. Second is to have the contractor, in our case it is L&T EDRC Chennai, to be on par with our higher management's what you called as aspirations of what is the final product is going to look like in terms of physical delivery as well as digital delivery. So these were the challenges, and by use of 3D modeling, laser scanning, and all those new technologies that are there, we have been able to crunch the timeline, the first point, to a huge extent. Our project, I'll give you 2-3 examples. Our project, which is spread across, the terminal building is spread across 27 lakh square feet, just the building, not counting the road infrastructure at all with it. The entire civil structure got completed in a single year. So completing that, which was a mix of RCC, reinforced concrete, as well as structural steel, was a challenge which L&T also delivered well. And how did they deliver is proper use of technology in terms of having coordinated drawings, having a single source of truth. Why I'm stressing on the single source of truth is, you will just imagine all the contractors that are working for the Terminal 2 building, whether it is L&T head office here in Bangalore or in Chennai, or there are hundreds of subcontractors across the country and the world. They are working on a single file system. That means if I am working on a flooring drawing on a certain level, and I have multiple contractors, every contractor is working on a single file. So there is, first of all, there is no duplication. We reduce the errors by approximately 85 to 90%, which is the predominantly the main problem of construction nowadays, in which we have errors and then we go and rectify. The third is, we have used the cloud system that is available there with BIM 360 and other tools to the extreme limit in terms of giving access. In terms of this type of situation, COVID situation also, people have access to their homes and at least the work is ongoing. And what we have faced is having another single source of truth. That's why I'm talking about single source of truth is, in 3D environment, only one file, everyone models on it. So everyone is working on it at a single time. So what happens is, what we have seen is, we have seen a drastic reduction of manpower from other projects of this scale. So if there was, suppose, X number of people working on Delhi project or Mumbai project or an infrastructure project of this size anywhere in the country, currently our permanent staff in design as well as construction coordination drawings is close to around 80% lesser.
Wow.
And we go home on time at 6 o'clock each day.
Okay. So Priya, how would you rate India's adoption of green building technology? I think one of the biggest things we see today is that many commercial as well as residential projects tout their green building credentials as one of the major sort of things. I don't know if it helps. It definitely looks good in an advertising sort of viewpoint. But where are we today in terms of India's, as a country, our adoption of green building technology?
Like you said, from looking good, we are slowly moving to doing good.
Right.
So green building technologies are propelled by the mandates, propelled by the standards. The technologies are getting very, very actively adopted, no doubt about that. The panelists mentioned about the cost saving, the technology, cost saving being one of the key outcomes of it, right? But the stakeholders or the sector as such is also looking at sustainability outcomes as one of the key propellers for them to adopt digital technologies as well. For instance, one of the key issues in a siloed approach to the projects is absolutely the material loss that happens. A lot of cost that goes out running off your hands is because of the material that we don't have a correct data on what's the material that goes into the construction and what's going out. Right. They are also looking at, from an operational point of view, the huge energy costs that the building or the huge energy consumption that goes into developing an infrastructure project, right? And these material and energy outcomes, right, are the two important aspects of sustainability, and they are propelling the construction sector to look at digital transformation within their organization. They're looking at adopting it at a very fast pace. There are definitely the government mandates and the push in terms of the IGBCs or the Griha or the LEED as the standards definitely help. The interesting part is the doing good aspect comes in where they want to be keen on, they want to look at what is the measurable impact that it that their project or their adopting the digital technologies would lead to, right? You're not anymore looking at, hey, this is a certificate for my infrastructure or my building and it's green, but they're talking about how will the digital technologies enable me to save X amount of energy costs. So the aspect of data driving the impact measurements is slowly coming into the adoption aspect.
That's great. It's not only good for the environment, it's good for your bottom line as well. I mean, that's one of the biggest push in this case for the industry. Apart from the fact that, I mean, it's mandated by the government, that's important. So that brings me to the fourth section of our discussion today. The government has been pushing for modernization of urban infrastructure with respect to smart cities for a while now. What are these key things that the government needs to consider while implementing a large infrastructure project? This is for Sunil, for smart cities.
It's an interesting question. So I think first of all, it's great, and whatever we do, we will only benefit. But looking at, I am an architect myself, so I always look at it a little bit differently in a way that there are fundamental design flaws in the city itself because it's kind of organically grown, right? And before we actually, sometimes we rush to actually put sensors on it without fixing the foundational issues. So that's one. Before we sensorize the cities, we should actually fix the fundamental design flaws, right, in the cities itself, whether it is the roads, all kind of things, the position of bus stands, a lot of things that actually goes into it. I also often look at this as something that I always feel this is crazy, that you come out of a building and you can actually cut across the road to go the other side, which is actually so dangerous, right? So those are the design flaws that we have in the entire city that we need to fix before we put sensors and then be able to monitor the data and fix and then do the little fixing that can improve the life for the people, right? And again, it all ties back to the fact that it all leads to a better predictable lifestyle for the people. And people are demanding better infrastructure, right? And I think the whole the time has changed. People are traveling more, they've seen more, and they want similar facilities. They're looking for better airports, better railway stations, better you name it, right? Everything, they need that, just because I think it's going to bring one comfort and also make their life better in terms of saving time, in terms of travel and all of those kind of things. That's what ultimately that needs to be done. So that demand is pushing this, and I believe it is about as we look at the data itself in the design, it is actually about creating a digital twin of whatever you are building. Right. So whether it's a building or a neighborhood or a city, if you have a digital twin of that, you are able to then do a better job in actually accessing that data and working through that. So that's where we are. I think the need definitely is coming from the grounds up. People are demanding, and yeah.
Right. So Priya, back to you. I mean, this is about a live sort of case. I mean, the Delhi Metro Rail corporation, became the first metro and railway system in the world to get carbon credits for reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Do you think India has the right ecosystem to work on many more such sustainable large-scale infra projects? I mean, what made the Delhi Metro Rail project tick in terms of getting things done? And are we set up the right way for it?
Definitely. Like I mentioned before, we have the right intent, and we have the stakeholders all geared up to adopt technologies, adopt new measures to bring about integration of sustainability into the project process, right? So if you look at it, its sustainability is no more siloed or kept aside as a feel-good factor outside the realm of the project, but rather it is getting integrated in it. Let me take the example of Tata Realty. Tata Realty very keenly looked at Bim to lead their way, to help them adopt lean construction principles in their one of their major projects in the country. And right at the concept stage, they were able to see 30% off of the overall cost, right? And while I would like to start with the cost, but then they have also seen the larger impact that's coming into the picture, right? A direct impact on the operation cost, right? In terms of the energy efficiency, in terms of the overall well-being of your what we call as healthy buildings in the current scenario, right? So we have organizations which are adopting at a very proactive way. And even the government, I think it's the right time when I would like to go back to the announcement, the Prime Minister had made last week. I again welcome the announcement. Economy infrastructure is a great propeller, but I would also like to remind that how we design and construct today is going to shape our future for tomorrow, right? So you refer to the whole sustainable cities and smart cities, and it's imperative for us to look at the city as a holistic, in a holistic approach, in totality.
Let's look at the technology now that can make all of this happen. The efficiency in terms of cost savings, the savings on time, and most importantly, sustainability, right? So BIM, or Building Information Modeling, is the reigning star of construction technology. It is quickly becoming the standard in building and project design, right? I mean, that's what we have been speaking about today. BIM allows architects, engineers, and contractors to collaborate on coordinated models. This is all on the cloud so that everyone can have valuable insights into how their work fits into the overall project, right? Ramyo spoke about the terminal project where L&T and different managers across regions work together. So let's look at an AV to get an overview of how BIM works.
In recent years, the construction industry has seen a huge influx of technology, which is great. As a project stakeholder, technology has enabled you to do your job faster, safer, and better. Problem is, each technology is only solving a part of the project, and data is being trapped in silos. This makes distributing the information to the people who need it a time-consuming, manual effort that eats into profit margins that are already razor-thin. It means that there's a ton of valuable project data we're not leveraging or can't access, which means we can't use it to improve and optimize project outcomes and delivery. Wouldn't you like to get everyone on your project on the same page and ensure a continuous flow of data to the right people at the right time throughout the life of the project? Autodesk Bim 360 can help. Autodesk Bim 360 provides one central location for construction professionals to store and manage project information. And BIM 360 is an open platform, which means that it can easily integrate with construction software you're already using. All your project information secured in one place, from design through construction all the way to owner handover, accessible to everyone who needs it. Want to connect your drone data to the platform? Check. Want to take care of bid management and estimating in one place? No problem. Combining BIM 360 with the construction software you already use not only enables you to centralize your construction workflows, documents, and markups in one place, but it makes it easier to create a repeatable process that helps you deliver higher quality projects with better outcomes to your clients. Start a free trial today and see how Autodesk Bim 360 can help supercharge your project.
Thank you. That was a quick preview into what BIM can do and how it can power your entire project. We have Ramyo from the Bangalore International Airport Limited, who has already spoken about a few anecdotes as to how this tool and other similar tools have helped them as part of an entire ecosystem in delivering a project much ahead of time with lesser manpower and being sustainable at the same time. I think that's the important thing. So for a question for you, Sunil, what is the level of BIM adoption in the country right now? And do you feel the pandemic will push the adoption?
Yes, through the pandemic, we have seen greater uptake, and people have come forward for a lot of training to our partners and training centers to actually take BIM training. In a way, BIM is a process, and the product that actually there are many products that actually deliver BIM data. So what I said earlier also, like, it's about creating a digital model of the real building or real infrastructure that is going to be built. So you understand in the digital world what's going to go wrong, and you understand the clash detection, you understand the cost, you can do value engineering and optimize the whole design before you build it. It's not that you're going to get caught off guard during the construction process. And that has been the challenge of construction industry, that all the delays and the cost overruns have been because of the drawings are not coordinated, the data is not coordinated. There are a lot of errors and omissions in the data that is passed on from one professional to the another, right? So here, Rami also talked about single source of truth. It's about working in this environment is basically creating and sharing the data as a single source of truth, and everybody looks at the same data that was kind of designed and shared through the ecosystem, and then you actually understand things much better. And also being in 3D, layman can see the thing visually before he goes and execute on the site, right? So all that actually brings efficiency to the thing. But most importantly, once through the digital platform, you are able to kind of cut away all the mistakes and issues before you actually start construction. That's the basic premise, and that way you actually save a lot of money. And when that happens, you also are able to deliver projects on time. And the other spin to this is basically bringing the analysis into the design plane, right? Now with digital tool, what happens is that you are doing design and you are analyzing at the same time, right? It's not a later process that you have done something and then you analyze after a month, and then we find, okay, we need to go back to the drawing board. Where what we have provided in our software is basically the ability for designer to design and analyze as you go on a daily basis. So whether it is sustainability analysis, you talk about steel optimization analysis, you talk about air conditioning analysis, you talk about sound and all that you talked about, you can now do vertical transportation analysis. You can actually analyze how people actually walk into the building, what should be the how can you actually regulate that whole process. So understanding all that and analyzing together makes the entire design so much more better, and that helps you to deliver better project, right? Better facility, and of course the other thing that happens is cost reduction and cost saving.
So fantastic. Ramyo, a question for you. With your experience of working with BIM, Do you feel it can offer long-term solutions for India's infrastructure challenges?
Yes, to answer that question, BIM will itself not offer a solution to it. It will give a clarity to the user. It will give a choice. Ultimately, it's a choice that we have to make ourselves. But BIM will definitely help in giving you a wider perspective, like a mountaintop view of what you are doing and what you are impacting. The choice is up to us to how to take that and implement it.
Right. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Ramya. My last question for Priya. Thank you, sir. How can technologies like BIM help in offering effective sustainability solutions in large infrastructure projects? You've already spoken about this before, but really my last question, because sustainability is definitely our theme of the day. And I think all of our panelists agree because that's extremely important. So how can BIM help build effective sustainability solutions in large projects?
So the technology here critical to our collective success. We've already established that in a conversation today, right? And very specifically in designing a sustainable future. So BIM, which as a very basic level, it not just brings in different diverse teams on the same platform, right? It's enabling designers access to a predictive data and insights. It's fusing the whole design and analytics together. So it just takes away all the guesswork away for a designer, right? You're no more doing a guesswork of the mind, but you are picking and choosing a varied option that a technology gives you based on the data and input that you have fed in, right? So it enables the designer to do the right job. It enables the engineer to do his or her own job. And this allows the team, right from the design to engineering to construction to O&M, to take a much more informed decision, right? So, and when sustainability becomes a part of it, right, you no more looking at it from an outside the window, but you're looking at it as part of the entire design or the project process. So it's there is no extra effort that is needed. This becomes the way how we work, right? And we need that now. Construction sector needs that today.
Thank you for attending our discussion. Thanks for our audience for listening in. This has been a really insightful and interactive session today. I would like to thank all of our guest speakers for sharing their opinion and helping us understand how the future of connected construction looks like and why it is the right time for digital transformation in the industry. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Stay safe.